Ready? Okay, here we go. I know, there's no amplifier. So I just have to shout. So this is kind of a look at the Reagan-Bush era from the warped perspective of a political cartoonist. First thing that I noticed about Ronald Reagan was that he was very, very old. Okay. He had big hair. And he had lots of wrinkles. This is actually, we said somebody.
Oh, read it. How to make your very own true-to-life Ronald Reagan jack-o'-lantern this Halloween. 1. Find long pumpkin with bump on top. 2. Carve as shown. 3. Cut pieces for ears. 4. Wait about 3 to 4 weeks.
Reagan's record as governor of California had earned him a rep for being insensitive to the poor. He hired a lot of people who were rather extreme in their views and let them run amok. Remember James Watt, when he didn't want the Beach Boys at a Washington 4th of July celebration because he said they weren't a family act, they were hard rock. Here's another one, Ed Meese. Colonel North.
He looks kind of like Perot.
And people worried that Reagan might be trigger happy. We made fun of this on the 1981 cover of Minnehaha, the lighter side of total global nuclear devastation. A few years later, before his weekly radio show, Reagan tested out the microphone by saying, "Ladies and gentlemen, the Soviet Union has been outlawed. The bombing will begin in 5 minutes." Reagan's #1 priority during the campaign was to reduce the federal deficit. We need a 12-year-old kid here for this. He was the first president in probably 2 decades to even mention school prayer. And he surprised the country when he made a friendly visit to communist China. It didn't seem quite in character for him. Reagan's opposition to making Martin Luther King's birthday a national holiday contrasted sharply to the time he paraded Michael Jackson around the White House lawn as a re-election stunt. This is taken from an actual photo. There was a picture of Governor Reagan in front of the mansion in California with one of these little characters on his front lawn. It's taken in the early 60s. He won re-election easily in '84 with the exception of one state. Well, I think considering who he was running against, his victory was not exactly hard won. Mondale was criticized for, catering to special interest groups. And the other thing about Mondale was he said he was very uncomfortable before the TV cameras. 84 was the year of Bob Forehead. You remember Bob Forehead? Everybody in Washington was trying to look and act like John F. Kennedy. Gary Hart, we should have somebody read this. Hey, Bruce, get over here. Oh, I don't know, just read it through.
After 11 years, JFK emerges from secret underground Houston hospital. Changes name. Can't recall his age. Ask what you can do for your country, he repeats.
Still thinks he's 47.
Inside, Jackie, at least I cannot read. I can't read that.
At last, I can feed the kids vegetables again without feeling guilty. Almost everyone was trying to look like JFK. In his second term, Reagan continued to push for increased defense spending. The Congress tried to cut the military back, but it didn't try terribly hard.
I'll read that one.
If it goes down another $1,000, the attack. This was some congressman was saying that if we didn't keep our defense spending up, the Soviets would be in submarines off the coast of San Diego in no time. So, and many blamed Irangate for taking a chunk out of Reagan's Teflon armor, but here, read that one. Read that. What does it say?
Without him?
Oh no.
What does it say?
It says contraceptives. Don't shoot without them.
Don't shoot without him, right? Okay.
Sorry.
I sort of had a theory that Reagan's real downfall was something else, though. Did you see the Saturday Night Live thing the other night with the rerun of Ron Reagan Jr. when he hosted Saturday Night Live, dancing around in his underwear like in Risky Business? And after he left office, there was a movement to have Reagan's countenance added to Mount Rushmore.
The one good thing George Bush did was prohibit that.
And he promised he would keep active during his retirement. Reagan says he will go back into acting. Back into acting? Ron Reagan, ageless star of 80-something, from hit presidency to hit TV series. President quails, popularity soars after on-the-air golf club bashing of Sam Donaldson. Barbara Walters' touching interview with first widow Barbara Bush. And in 1990, Reagan took a fall that caused his brain to swell and came to the Mayo Clinic in Rochester to have some fluid drained. The most important after effect of the Reagan legacy, I thought, was on the generation that grew up with him as a father figure. You know, because the president is really, that's his kind of his role. When you're a little kid, you look to the president as a father figure. And so if you think about what impact that had, that's kind of like what we end up with is this kind of thing. Yeah. So paved the way for a new breed of right-wing fascists. And, oh yeah, Jesse.
So much for that homoerotic trash. Now to get that filthy E word out of the NEA.
And also a new breed of left-wing fascists. Andrea Dworkin at the gates of the female supremacist state gas chambers. This one resulted in the Organized Against Pornography people trying to get a boycott against city pages. They sent out flyers to all of our advertisers asking them not to advertise in city pages because of this cartoon. Our advertising went up the following week. This was after Two Live Crew was arrested in Florida for obscenity, and Andrew Dice Clay that week, I think, was hosting the Saturday Night Live. So we get to George Bush. George Bush kicked off his quest to be promoted from vice president to president with a characteristic display of macho posturing against a formidable opponent, Dan Rather. And you might remember his little slip of the tongue when he was recalling the bombing of Pearl Harbor. He said September 7th instead of December 7th.
3 people in the country caught it.
What really got him elected, though, was his appeal to the voters' patriotism. And his choice of a fine running mate. Dan Quayle, this really, it's just what I envisioned happening. You know, George Bush collapsing the day of the inauguration. Actually, my editor, I wanted to do George Bush having a bullet go through his head. My editor insisted it had to be a heart attack. That was a little bit too much.
Probably safe now.
It's kind of hard to read. Yeah. I don't know what's wrong with this. Who wants to be Rehnquist? I, George Herbert Bush, I pledge allegiance, do solemnly swear, my ticker, motherfucker.
I was wondering what that said.
Poor George. I, J. Danforth Quayle, and they're taking him into the ambulance in the background. His covered face. Now I lay me down to sleep. God is great, God is good. Remember what he said if he was, you know, when they asked him if he was to take over as president, what's the first thing you'd do? He said, I'd say a prayer. Mr. President, what is your first directive? I am prepared to lead this country. Should I call the cabinet together? I have as much experience as Jack Kennedy did. That's what he said, experience. What do you want to do, sir? Ich bin ein Berliner. He was comparing himself to Kennedy. Sir, ask not what you can do for your country. And I don't know, that was kind of a weak ending. He's just up in the tree. He made the White House into a tree house, and I don't know. This was our do-it-yourself Dan Quayle Dancing Fool cutout doll. Oh, yeah, that's... Oh, wait till we get to the... Yeah, okay, instructions. Cut hole through mouth, punch holes through feet. 3, attach 2 long strings to feet and insert ends through mouth hole. 3, you put his right foot in, you take his right foot out, you put his right foot in, and you shake it all about. Repeat with the left foot.
VP. Do the hokey VP and you do. That's what it's all about.
Oh, boy. Okay, then there were charges that Dan Quayle had smoked marijuana slid off like a fried egg from a Teflon pan. This is your brain on drugs. This is Dan Quayle's brain on drugs.
You didn't even deny inhaling.
Cuomo. B-O. Bush's stalwart defense of his vice president made me wonder how he could have such an intense dislike for broccoli. And Bush's choice for campaign manager was kind of a strong indicator of his ethics or lack of them. The mastermind of the Willie Horton ads. The good news, your tumor is not malignant. The bad news, the rest of your brain is. A few of George's old connections proved to be rather embarrassing for him. And he sent Bill Bennett to do most of his dirty work. Millie Bush became something of a superstar. And Bush's appointments to the Supreme Court cast a giant shadow on the notion of justice. Oh, that's right. I don't know how many people really got that one. The Vietnam syndrome shaped much of the Bush administration's thinking, but I contend that neither this nor Saddam Hussein's invasion of Kuwait were the real reason for the U.S. invasion of Iraq. It seems more like if you think back, it seems like more than a small coincidence that the first real threats to move troops of working people's sons and daughters into the Middle East also served to distract attention from Neil Bush's involvement in the savings and loan mess. Diane, you should read this one.
This little piggy went to market, S&L crooks. This little piggy stayed home, government regulators. This little piggy had roast beef, bankers. This little piggy had done, taxpayers. And this little piggy went wee, 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 all the way home. Daddy!
Yeah, this is right before Thanksgiving. And before Christmas.
To Manuel, to Saddam, to Hassan.
This one was inspired by Wellstone. When Wellstone got up in front of the Vietnam Memorial and shed a few tears, and was, given a lot of grief for that. But the only thing I didn't like about it was that he retreated. He apologized for it, which I thought was pretty chicken. I mean, what was a big, what's a big problem with it? George Bush was in his glory when the Congress fell right in line with his request to sort of declare war on Iraq. The Rodney King beating in Los Angeles was symptomatic of the implicit acceptance of racism and the police state mentality that flowed from the Reagan-Bush electoral mandate. I wanted to do a swastika on his shoulder on this one, but the editor again got in the way. I can't understand how a guy like that could find so much popular support.
Yeah.
This is when they were starting to go back to their old tricks about 2 years ago, and it kind of backfired. So they cooled it. Actual quote. The self-proclaimed environmental president showed us that in the 90s, a favorite tactic of any politician, including the politically correct left, is to say anything people want to hear, no matter how obviously false it is. Just keep saying it over and over and over and over and over, and a lot of people will sort of start to parrot you. And this principle also applies to important issues like sexual harassment. There's Arlen Specter. Who wanted one of Arlen Specter? And the economy. As well as image building efforts. And that's it. That's all I've got on George Bush. So, thanks.